I am here with Oliver Rothschild, serial entrepreneur and investor, a great friend of Global Women, a big supporter and campaigner for women empowerment. And every time we bring you to Global Women, we keep notes on learning how much we can implement in our business. And I just wanted to make sure that this session with you, a short session, we tap a little bit more into what it takes to grow the business to the next level. So we have a room full of female founders, entrepreneurs who had the courage to start a business, and they deserve to take this business galactic, not global. And I know they have the power, but somehow we have some barriers or some limited beliefs that you guys don't. And if you are kind enough to tell us, what can we learn from someone like you who has been in business for decades and helped many businesses to scale and sell and grow and bring so many amazing things to the world?
Well, thank you very much for that introduction. I will tell my PR agent to use that in future. Look, one of the things you said at the top of your little introduction was connectivity. I'm a great believer in connectivity. I actually used to own a social media site which cost me a lot of money because we were ahead of time, but it was all to do with connectivity. And if I may make a point, and even though I haven't got shares in this company, I'm always surprised by how few ladies who want to get into business actually are on LinkedIn, let alone use LinkedIn as a social media. That, apart from this wonderful club here where you are physically meeting people to be able to expound and expose yourselves as to what you're doing in business, you've got to get around, you've got to meet people, you've got to learn from people, you've got to tell people your story, and you've got to benefit from all the things you do, which connectivity, in my view, and I'm going to be making a speech about that later today, because it's still not used sufficiently, especially, if I may say so, with the female audience. How are you going to get known? You do not have £2 million to market yourselves. You do have social media. You do have a really fantastic club like this to be able to use the opportunity of actually saying what you want to do, why you want to do it, with whom you'd like to do it, and hear back from people that you're speaking to that they can actually interface with what you're saying.
Yes, when we talk about connectivity, we're really good on that. Absolutely. So somehow I have a feeling that we are better than you guys, because on that part we also use our energy, our intuition. We're really good when it comes to connect heart to heart, but I really want to get out of your wisdom portfolio some kind of secret. How do we turn this connectivity into a business?
Well, you've got to have an idea, and you've got to make the idea's got to make sense. There is many of these so-called successful, really big business people have had failure, but the failure hasn't daunted them in actually pursuing again another dream or another venture. So you should actually, in a way, learn from benefit. I talk about, in biblical terms, I'm not religious, the wisdom of David and Solomon. David made the mistakes, and Solomon benefited from actually being able to be the great king by actually knowing what mistakes there were made. The same thing in business. Do not be daunted if the first time you try something you don't succeed. Success will come to you, especially the mere fact that you're going the second time round, third time round. Do not be daunted. Do not let that type of barrier be the end of your story. The companies that I have been involved with, I mentor a lot of them, they've what's called pivoted. So they've started as being a food delivery company and they end up being a fashion house. I mean, I'm not saying I like exaggerating. I do like exaggerating the point that if you have a goal and a mission and you really pursue it, you will succeed. So there's no magic formula. The magic formula is within yourselves, that you actually believe in yourselves and you believe actually in what you're doing and what you're saying. it'll be soon found out if you're being false about it. You really have got to feel that, and that will transpose itself to the other people you need to help you, the other people who are your followers, in actually believing in what you're doing, and one way or another, you will succeed.
Oh, thank you for bringing that point. Absolutely, I agree with you, because we come from a culture for decades and centuries. As women, we were punished for mistakes if we do these mistakes. But you guys, you had a little bit more freedom. A man could do a mistake and it's not a big deal, it's a man. And maybe I'm having that feeling that, of course, now we have come to a complete new era and our generation is breaking lots of barriers and rules. But still, deep in our subconscious mind, somehow we have that blockage that we cannot have mistakes. We are not good enough. We cannot do this. But because we will be perceived as a failure, as who you think you are, and you guys come from a complete different journey. So do you think that's the reason why women hesitate to take actions and to implement their ideas from the fear of judgment?
Well, I think you're talking about the past. My view is you should always be looking to the future, because if you let the past be a handle, a burden, that will actually transpose itself to whomever you're speaking. So even though you feel, and rightly so, that you haven't had the chance for decades and centuries, my view is, again, it's all to do with positivity, and not to be able to feel that you've got a burden on your shoulder because of what's happened in the past. And I mean, I say this publicly. There are some major ladies who've got to the top of the tree who have also failed, quite publicly. Do not think that everybody is perfect and that every lady has got a given route because it's a lady, and now the men should be far more appealing to the women's support. My view is that should all be treated equally, whether you're a man or woman, right? We can't change people's mental behavior. What we can do is change people's attitudes, and that is through education, through experience, and through the whole type of geopolitical and global scene where women now, I do remember, just coming on a point, I remember when Golda Meir was made the Prime Minister of Israel, this was considered, forget the fact Israel is quite controversial, I'm not going to go into the politics, but this was a lady who was one of the first known type of Western orientated prime ministers. The press was huge about it. Now it's a given. We've had so many ladies who've had positions of political power. I don't know if you know, but I used to be the chairman of UNICEF, the appeals committee, and whilst I was chairman, to my excitement and the actual type of surprise to the Arab world, at one time in London, 4 of the ambassadors were ladies. 4 of the Arab ambassadors were ladies at the same time. So things are changing. We mustn't look at the past, we must look forward and actually be confident and happy that there is, and really 100% that you can succeed, and forget the nasty males or even some of the ladies who push other ladies down.
Oh, yes.
Do your thing. Be absolutely resolute in what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. And I agree with you. First of all, it's so important we look to the past, we visit the past, but we don't stay there. And we don't focus on finding excuses because of what happened in the past or whatever is happening right now. And we don't focus on the complaint either, because I see sometimes that tendency, I can't do this because of this. But another thing which we always kind of implement and bring this to the community is like, no blame. It's over. We don't need to blame anybody. Oh, I can't do this because it's not my fault. That doesn't help. So definitely we're building a new era of women empowering each other, where they don't focus on blaming the past or blaming other people, but they are building their resilience, building their strength, and collaborating with supportive men like you, and also making sure that the next generation, especially our boys, are educated in a way that they see that equality and they see the beauty on us. So just before we close, can we focus a little bit on the business just before we finish? I want to hear from a super businessman like you, three tips that we can implement in the business. If somebody, let's say, if somebody has just started a business and is in the journey of achieving a big dream but is a little bit lost, doesn't have that support or needs a little bit more clarity, what would be three advices that you would share with us?
I'm going to have to think about the third, but there are two that I always use. One is, in my language, there's no could, should, or would. Yeah, to me is I can, I will, I'll do. The second is, do use a mentor. Do go to people, and mentorship now. I was a former chairman of England's largest privately owned mentorship group. We were mostly ahead of time. Mentoring. I use the old AA advert, which you say that the AA was the fourth emergency service: police, ambulance, and fire, and the AA. And I say in business, you need four professional bodies to help you. One is a bank, one is a lawyer, and the other was an accountant. Okay, well, we won't have a business without those, no matter how much you use them. But you also need a mentor. So let's think about the third. The third, in my view, is still going back to the thing: believe in yourself, and also do listen to people whose advice you really feel is positive, and also bounce ideas backwards and forwards. Do not be scared or to have that worry that what you're saying is not understood. It has to be understood. I always say again with companies, if you have a proposition, speak to your grandmother or somebody who's elderly or somebody who's not in business to say, this is what my business is about. I'm in wellness. I'm in food delivery, right? Forget about the technology that you may use, and every company these days has technology. Make sure that the reaction from the person you're talking to is, oh, I understand what you're doing. Airbnb and Uber spent millions, billions on their back office. Now, they may not be the best businesses these days as far as competencies level, but they spent billions. But we know one is a taxi service and the other one is renting rooms.
Well, thank you so much. I would like to add on top of what you said, yes, mentoring is great and believing in yourself, but once you build that belief in yourself, we really have to make sure we go and take actions.
Oh, yes.
We do not stay in the learning zone forever, but we also move to the next stage where we share the knowledge and we share what we have learned. And what you have shared right now with us, it's a gold. And thank you so much for being such a great ambassador of Global Women Club, but for women empowerment everywhere. And we look forward to bring you back to the next event.
Thank you, Mirela.